What occurs when Hollywood's most outrageous on live TV? A comic deviates from the script. Jim Carrey, renowned for his unafraid candor and erratic sense of humor, entered Jimmy Kimmel performed live and took a step that strange. So surprising that it left both Kimmel and the audience froze to eye in a matter of seconds. A basic gesture transformed into a whirlwind of conjecture. Murmurs concerning hidden meanings, secret symbols, and Hollywood's side that we're never supposed to see. Was Carrey making fun of the system or revealing something more significant? People are still upset about what he did that evening. Speaking. The candidness of Jim Carr. Jim Carrey isn't the kind to stick around quiet. And when he called out this time, Jimmy Kimmel accomplished this using the type of scathing candor that only he could muster away. The globe has witnessed him don countless various masks, from the comic with the rubber facian, the tragic dreamer's mask in the spotless mind's eternal sunshine. However, there is a guy behind every character who has never shied away from sharing his truth, regardless of how awkward it maybe creates individuals. As time went on, Carrey's voice has become more audacious, more unrepentant, and much more inclined to disrupt Hollywood's meticulously manicured surface. Carrey became well-known worldwide in the 1990s and gained widespread recognition via means of personalities who pushed physical comedy to the extreme. However, as his career changed, Carrey demonstrated that his ability transcended slapstick by displaying aspect of his that was reflective, sentimental, and unafraid. His off-screen persona is characterized by fearlessness. Persona as well. In contrast to many performers who cautiously guard their reputation, Carrey talks without a filter. He has never been hesitant to express his political views or his annoyances with the condition of the world. Actually, he frequently agrees with progressive principles and has consistently been among the most vocal celebrities that have criticized Donald Trump and the Republican Party. While in public appearances and interviews, he's often criticized what he sees as corruption and dishonesty, occasionally with scathing humor, occasionally with strong moral conviction. The advocacy of Carr's covers a number of causes. He has been ardent advocate for universal health care, frequently referencing the Canadian system as evidence that caring medical treatment is feasible. With Bill in real time, he once commended the Canadian paradigm, asserting that civilizations need to look after their people, not to the luxury of health treatment. Additionally, he has been vocal about gun control, releasing Cold Dead Hand, the satirical short in 2013, a parody song that made fun of America's fixation with guns. However, Carrey uses interviews for more than just make a point. He depicts it in a literal manner. In the last 10 years, he has established a completely new standing as a political artist, producing vibrant and frequently harsh political and public caricatures numbers. His work has targeted everyone, including Sarah and Donald Trump, Huckabee Sanders, to global celebrities similar to Mussolini. The paintings are striking, occasionally hideous, and purposefully provocative. Every one of them makes a statement in opposition to what he perceives as the moral decline of authority and the deterioration of reality that Carrey's artistic endeavors have allowed him to convey what words can't always. He expressed his annoyance, optimism, and rebellion on the canvas, transforming his studio into a visual protest of sorts. When he first started sharing these pieces, they got viral on the internet very soon. A few commended him for his bravery, yet he was assaulted or ridiculed by others. However, for that's the purpose, Carrey. He is concentrated on making individuals face unpleasant facts. This is unfiltered. He is honest in all that he does. That he wrote an essay that appeared in the Truth, Justice, and a Fair Trial by Atlantic, The World Without Trump. It wasn't only political analysis. It was expression of his strong conviction that art and truth are inextricably linked. He argued that society has exchanged compassion for spectacle and that the moment had come for a sense of moral obligation. The performance was honest and unrepentant, and readers were informed that Carr's perspective has always involved looking for something genuine, even within a sector based on delusion. During interviews, he frequently discusses ego, celebrity, and identity, as though he's retracting the closing of the whole show The World. Whenever Carrey speaks, it sounds like they've seen too much of the game and has lost interest in playing by its regulations. What he says can be disconcerting, even disturbing, as a result of his doesn't carry them out. He's referring to them. Thus, when he applied the same candor-tuned person who is well known for telling jokes, but not always throughout taking them. Nobody anticipated the Carrey next. However, the majority of individuals don't acknowledge that Carrey's bold and an outspoken personality originated from a lifetime of hardship, annoyance, and dispute. This is Jim's side. Carrey, which Hollywood has attempted once more and once more to conceal when Carrey went too far. Among the most important turning points in Jim Carrey's life occurred in 2018 during a gathering that had Hollywood has nothing to do with it. Carrey was when a horrifying message arrived in Hawaii flashed on all the phones. A missile was on its way to the island and had an influence was coming. Residents were informed that had only 10 minutes to live. It was an incorrect false warning was sent, but nobody was aware of that at the time. For those 10 minutes, Jim Carrey thought the end was near. Come on. He later talked about the encounter as oddly tranquil. Rather than being alarmed, he claimed to have a strong feeling of acceptance, a serene understanding that everything the commotion, celebrity, and cacophony of life meant in the face of death, very little. Standing at the edge for that one instant off what he believed to be his final dawn, reflected a shift in his perspective on existence. However, even before that untrue Carrey had already been fighting alarm unseen conflicts. He spoke candidly regarding his battles with depression, characterizing it as a rather than a sad profound tiredness with the self he had to act for the planet. During interviews, he has been forthright about times when dejection and disappointment. Moments when he believed that what he had done because it had lost its fame and money significance. However, rather than concealing this gloom, Carrey has made the decision to face things in a different way. He's broken it down in making it public, making it something else could comprehend. He has discussed his look for a spiritual awakening, stating that his identification with the everyone else sees Jim Carrey, and that a concept of identity, celebrity, and self are delusions. As his theory deepened, so did his way of living. Gradually, Carrey moved away from the spotlight, opting for seclusion and reflection on the red carpet and interviews. However, even as he backed down, life presented him with yet another internal obstacle that had put every aspect of his resilience on an emotional and spiritual level. In 2015, Catheriona White, his former girlfriend, died in a horrible accident that it was a crushing loss, and even more vicious in the aftermath. 2016, White's mother and separated husband filed claims for wrongful death against Carrey, claiming that he supplied prescribed drugs through a fraudulent name and playing a part in her demise. The accusations caused a jolt through the media. He was depicted in every potential light, a grieving lover who is careless victim, villain, or celebrity. It turned become his character trial in public did note in tabloids, as well as courtrooms and internet conjecture. Carrey refused toll of the assertions, stating that the charges were baseless and nasty. In 2018, years later, both lawsuits were rejected. Nonetheless, the harm had already been completed. Carrey was compelled by the case to experience a particularly agonizing period of his life in the glaring spotlight of the public judgment. The encounter made an impression that there would be no film, no prize, and no public apology could make things better. Additionally, it deepened his mistrust of the media and celebrity mechanism that thrives on the suffering of celebrities. But there was a cost to that survival, considering that Carr's spiritual path brought him calm and increased his assertive, more direct, and occasionally more inclined to face wherever he witnesses hypocrisy, even if it entails criticizing influential people. Live on TV. In 2008, Jim Carrey was already among the most well-known faces in entertainment. However, that year, he was featured in the news for something much more polarizing than humor movie. In addition to actress Jenny McCarthy became a member of the Green Hour campaign for vaccines, a movement that called for the elimination of some substances found in kid vaccinations. McCarthy and Carrey marched in Washington, D.C., with cameras all around, indications, and parents who thought vaccinations were connected to autism. However, Carrey claimed he had no anti-vaccine views. His critics said he was disseminating false information when the public debates about health were becoming louder. For years, he was surrounded by scandal. Carrey insisted that his stance wasn't opposed to vaccinations in general, but contrary to what he perceived as corporate carelessness and a lack of openness. But the cacophony drowned out the subtlety that it seemed to many that he was aligning with the push against vaccines, and that the label remained in place. After California enacted a 2015 legislation mandating immunizations for Carrey, spoke up for all of the school children that once more. Harsher this time. He took to Twitter, referring to the company policy fascism. The reaction was instantaneous. Journalists, scientists, and enthusiasts chastised him for utilizing his celebrity to erode the public's faith in medicine. However, Carrey refused to back down, stating that he only desired safety guidelines and responsibility. However, this wasn't the car's moral compass had for the first time went against the conventions of Hollywood. Two, he made headlines in 2013 years prior to for a whole different type of demonstrate, this time in opposition to violence in media. Following Kick-Ass 2's production, Carrey declared in public that he would not advertise the film. The choice was made months following the Sandy Hook tragedy, which had a profound impact on him. Carrey stated that he was no longer able to provide material that exalted violence, tweeting that he changed his mind. The actors in the movie were shocked by what he said as well as the marketing group, and while the studio attempted to minimize the consequences, the message was unambiguous. Carrey was ready to take a chance on professional repercussions to maintain his convictions. Responses were mixed. Some respected his honesty and kindness, but others charged him with hypocrisy for appearing in the movie in first. Jeff Wadlow, director, and the author Mark Miller both said dissatisfaction, claiming he had knew the tone of the film from the beginning. However, Carrey didn't change her mind. To him, the ethical dilemma was more important than the professional consequences. He merely stated that he may not morally righteously encourage such a film during a period of real-life disaster had rendered separation impossible, that fiction based on suffering. Additionally, as his political voice became louder and the worldwide responses to it. By 2022, automobiles openly expressed political art and critique of global leaders attained an unprecedented degree of tension after Russia formally prohibited preventing him from coming into the nation. The action was included in a larger blacklist that targeted famous people who has denounced Vladimir Ukraine was invaded by Putin. Carrey, who had been against authoritarianism for a while via his tweets and artwork, replied bluntly. As usual, he didn't say sorry or change his position. Rather, he kept posting artwork that mocked oppression and corruption. However, not all of the criticism originated in institutions or governments. One of Carr's political cartoons from 2019 sparked an Italian firestorm. He had uploaded a sketch of Mussolini and Claretta Piticci, his mistress, is hanging inverted following their execution in 1945. A potent historical picture framed in his typical satirical fashion. The illustration itself wasn't brand new. However, Carr's caption rekindled a strong national injury. Mussolini is Alessandra Mussolini's granddaughter, who is an Italian politician, right away took to Twitter to vent. The internet. The dispute swiftly spread through Italian language worldwide. News sources strongly disagreed about whether Carrey had went too far or just informed the truth regarding a sad period in history. Carrey has gained respect for his honesty as well as adversaries. However, it has also put him in stark contrast to the culture of Hollywood, which frequently prioritize excellence in the face of truth. That disobedience would soon clash with another vocal someone who recently established an empire celebrity appeal and nighttime humor. Jimmy, America's late-night provocateur. Kimmel has almost 20 years of experience blending in late-night television politics, comedy, and culture analysis of one of the most identifiable voices in American amusement. As Jimmy's host since 2003, Kimmel Live Sano has developed based his fame on satire, poignant narrative, and the type of parts of social media that go viral media. However, in addition to his witty humor and political candor has advanced significantly a list of disputes. A few that produced he is an emblem of morality and amusement, as well as other things that inspired fury and contentious discussion. Kimmel Scarer has consistently demonstrated his perspective. He is blatantly liberal, employing his position to raise awareness to issues like as medical treatment, gun control, and social fairness. In the Trump administration, in particular, his act frequently felt like even in contrast to the day's political anarchy. His speeches often singled out conservative figures and regulations. And although many cheered, others blamed him for his audacity of transforming humor into a cause. This conflict between advocates and entertainers has kept up with him during his career, making him among the most divisive television hosts. Among his most in 2017, major moments occurred when Kimmel gave a heartfelt monologue regarding the heart surgery for his newborn baby. He fought back tears as he described the horrifying realization that Billy, his kid, had a congenital condition at birth, cardiac condition, and the necessity for an emergency surgery to stay alive. However, what started as a personal narrative that became a national political declaration. Kimmel made use of that time to demand more affordable healthcare concern and confront lawmakers who were against pre-existing condition coverage. No parent should ever have, he said. To determine whether they have the funds to preserve the life of their child resonated with everyone at the nation. Politicians soon started referring to what was dubbed the term Jimmy Kimmel test, is used to assess if healthcare laws fulfilled Kimmel's compassion standard had outlined. It was an impactful moment, but a contentious one as well, that claimed that he had politicized his child's illness, but his admirers viewed him as courageous for utilizing his position to make demands reform. In any case, Kimmel had taken into a new position, not merely a late-A cultural figure, but a nighttime comedian willing to take on problems that go much beyond jokes and rumors about famous people. Later, emotional earnestness reappeared. At that same year, following a terrible event Jimmy Kimmel's hometown of Las Vegas, he broke down on air in another monologue that he demanded a more powerful weapon control legislation and denounced politicians who prayed and offered thoughts without action. The moment was hailed and went viral by many due to its humanity, but moreover disapproved of by those who perceived it as making tragedy a political issue. But as his voice becoming more vocal on important topics, his career started to catch up in several areas. Kimmel had a history of using edgy, the type of comedy that could have slipped early in the new millennium, but currently reads in retrospect in a different way. One of the Jimmy provided the most talked about examples. 2013's Kimmel Love during a recurrent kids' table is a sketch in one section. A youngster made a casual jest implying that the United States could China's severe measures to address the national debt. The remark was broadcast without editing, provoking Chinese indignation and protests in Chinese-American communities erupted outside Kimmel and ABC studios, promptly apologized, stating that he never meant to do damage, and the bit was badly managed and unscripted. A beak followed by an apology of its own, but the backlash persisted, demonstrating how readily comedy may be offensive when cultural disregard for sensitivity wasn't themed a public health controversy discussions. In 2015, Kimmel broadcast a humorous PSA with actual medical professionals urging individuals to vaccinate their kids. Although the purpose of the film was to advertise science and false facts about vaccines, it rekindled long-standing tensions, particularly considering Carr's prior green vaccinations campaign. According to some parents, Kimmel making fun of their worries instead of speaking to them, while others gave them applause. Him for standing up. The discussion became much more contentious in 2021 when Kimmel criticized in his monologue individuals who declined vaccinations and instead utilized ivermectin and other drugs. He made a joke about hospitals having to prioritize ICU patients who have received vaccinations. Beds. Additionally, this joke caused a surge offline outcry, with detractors claiming that discriminatory and callous. Kimmel said that the remark was satirical and he was drawing attention to how frustrated many healthcare professionals felt. However, the incident made the line's fragility clear between amusement and animosity had developed as more of his earlier work returned. Kimmel was confronted with fresh examination of drawings from his early professional life. At the height of the black videos from the 2020 Lives Matter movement surfaced of Kimmel in blackface. Meet Karl Malone, an NBA player, and when performing comedic sketches, Oprah Winfrey. Jimmy Kimmel live in its early years and the Man Show episodes. The videos became viral very fast, receiving a lot of criticism. Kimmel issued a statement expressing regret for the spoofs, claiming they were careless, and that he felt regret for them profoundly. He took a moment to distance himself from the summertime program, even though a Beak publicly supported him. In addition to humor, Kimmel has come under fire for the manner in which he conducted interviews previously, especially one featuring Megan Fox, an actress. In 2009, while being interviewed, Fox revealed that they had been invited to do an improper scenes when only 15. Remarkably, Kimmel dismissed it with a laugh and on-air jokes about it. a moment that returned in the midst of the Hashmeto years later movement. Those who watched the clip eyewitness an illustration of how Hollywood had normalized the abuse of children. Kimmel never mentioned the actress's clip straight, but with its resurfacing include an additional dimension to his complex legacy. In 2023, more recently, Kimmel's name appeared in a conspiracy theory on the internet when Aaron Rodgers, an NFL player, suggested that Kimmel may make an appearance on the untitled client list of Jeffrey Epstein. The accusation instantly went viral on social media. Prior to Kimmel's public retaliation, labeling the assertion false and issuing a warning Rodgers that unfounded charges may have repercussions, the narrative ultimately died down, but not without reminding ease with which public personalities can inevitably become entangled in rumors. Off the reality. As time went on, Jimmy Kimmel has discovered that being vocal has a cost. His blend of humor, his passion and advocacy have made him one among the most talked about late-night hosts throughout history. But every dispute has changed the way that people saw him. And it was precisely this complicated image that made his sudden altercation with Jim Carrey so volatile. When those two the stage was shared by personalities, it wasn't just another encounter between celebrities. It involved two males colliding who had spent their professional lives stating what others are hesitant to speak. Additionally, for once, the blow was not lessened by laughter. Jim's surprising claims made by Carrey. When Jim, during his appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Carrey promoting Dumb and Dumber 2 through trolling, viewers anticipated his typical style of erratic comedy. But what they received, rather, it was among the most peculiar late minutes of the night ever aired. As Carrey entered the stage, he stopped before seated and positioned themselves in a triangle with his hands, covering his lips with it, and his tongue protruding through the center. The crowd chuckled, thinking it was again another of his peculiarities. Jokes aside, he leaned in Kimmel's direction. "You don't know what this is," he said. Kimmel laughed and said he didn't, clumsily, obviously not sure where this was proceeding. Carrey went on to say, "You're not sure. Jimmy Fallon doesn't understand. David Letterman is unsure. And every comic in the entertainment industry doesn't. To you, do realize what this is? Come on, Jimmy. The time is up, really. Individuals are excited about such things. I am here tonight to reveal everything." Toked as the informant. "I'm worn out and ill of the lies and the secrets. It's the you and the Illuminati's secret symbol are involved, and it's all ridiculing Tom." Carrey continued by discussing how everyone in the entertainment industry was aware of the hidden sign that can be found everywhere. The audience continued to chuckle, but the tone of the room moved. It was uncertain if he was making fun of conspiracy theories or implying something more profound. As he talked, Kimmel attempted to reroute the return to the film after the interview. However, Carrey wasn't finished. He smiled as he stated that Kimmel and other television hosts were puppets who were employed to divert the public, but the actual individuals took the strings in the background, stating, For many years, talk show presenters, individuals on television, and sitcom characters have been employed by the state to toss off course, to divert your attention. To make you chuckle, and other similar things to make you happy, and take care of you, so that you don't understand the true situation. You know, they emerge into the forest and decide these things while circle nude. They are attempting to convert us into customers. Drones. The declaration was given humorously, but Kimmel's apprehensive grin implied that he was unsure of whether to laugh or go on. Within a few hours, snippets of the conversation overtook social media and YouTube. Media, examined by conspiracy theorists, saw of it, claiming that Carrey had revealed the entertainment sector's concealed meaning. They indicated the triangular motion to demonstrate his revolt and referred to everyone as mocking tongue as an allusion to the secret society's media control. Others viewed it as pure Carrey's use of satire to mock the very notion of celebrity plots. His excessive and extravagant tone moves that go well with his humorous fashion. However, the argument only intensified. The millions of people saw the video, and years later, it's still among the most watched Kimmel's career interviews. In actuality, when Carrey pointed out the notion that TV hosts are puppets, it triggered a reaction. Kimmel grinned and nodding, as any experienced host would, maintaining the flow of the show. However, the afterlife of the clip demonstrated that Carrey something had been touched by chaotic comedy. Additionally, Carr's outburst ended viewers wondering who actually is in charge of the story. Jimmy Kimmel would shortly be the subject of examination for a completely other reason. A controversy that went beyond light-hearted remarks in television, generating news reports regarding his own future on television late at night. The story of Kimmel's suspension. September. The world of late nights exploded in 2025 when Jimmy Kimmel's performance was abruptly canceled out of the air. The cause? A contentious speech that went well beyond what did anyone at ABC anticipate. Throughout a part responding to the unexpected death of Charlie Kirk, a conservative activist, Kimmel's remarks were criticized by went too far. The reaction was immediately, and in a matter of days, ABC declared that the program would air on brief pause. The suspension was startling to viewers. Kimmel, who had 20 years of combining politics and comedy, has endured a great deal of controversy previously, but not to this extent. Conservative leaders immediately seized on the instant. Donald Trump, president, praised himself on Truth Social ABC's choice to label Kimmel on a comedian without skill who hasn't been funny years. The post gained widespread attention overnight, causing a new surge offline discussion regarding political bias and media responsibility. What caused the even more unstable was the response from the transmitting the world. Commissioner Brendan Carr of the FC publicly voiced their opinion, pressing local ABC affiliates should think about discontinuing the program forever. He charged the network with perpetuating a poisonous double standard and recommended that Kimmel be seen on would be unfair to those that watch that still think that journalists should be fair. His remarks further stoked the dispute additionally, igniting heated debates regarding if public servants ought to have any influence over programming choices. Behind ABC execs were captured in the scenes in a tempest of conflicting demands. Advertisers started to pause, concerned Kimmel's remarks, as well as the political conflagration surrounding them could alienate viewers. Others sought assurances that the program wouldn't go on for a more polarizing route. In the meanwhile, a flood many well-known celebrities arrived at Kimmel's defense. Performers, artists, and the suspension was denounced by other hosts as criticizing censorship as an assault on free speech, as well as comedy. Social media advertisements using hashtags such as "Stand with Comedy" is not a crime, and Kimmel started trending in a matter of hours. Undermounting due to public demand, ABC brought Kimmel back following a short break, framing the choice as a safeguard for innovative expression. The network stressed that even when it is offensive, comedy has an important part of societal discourse. However, the controversy had not ended yet. Numerous significant station groups, such as NextStar and affiliates of Sinclair, declared Jimmy Kimmel Live would no longer be broadcast in certain markets, referencing viewers' community norms and sensitivity. That action shattered Kimmel's country's reach and rekindled discussion regarding who truly determines what Americans are able to observe. Critics referred to it as corporate censorship masquerading as ethical considerations, whereas proponents said it was a sensible business choice to safeguard audiences in the area. Actually, the whole episode turned into a hot spot in the greater cultural conflict over free expression, political division, as well as the limits of entertainment. For decades, Kimmel was among the few people who arrived late night hosts who are prepared to mix emotions advocacy that is laced with incisive political comedy, something that certain people loved about him, hated by others. However, the 2025 suspension shown how brittle that balance had evolved into a time where each joke could make the news. A BCS Disney, the parent firm, was quickly removed into the tumult. Conservative organizations' boycotts were threatened, and the corporation was accused of protecting prejudice in politics under the pretense of free speech. Advancement, however, supporters cautioned that Kimmel-style voice suppression would set a risky standard for comedians all over. Disney attempted to walk a tightrope line, reiterating its dedication to opening conversation while encouraging viewers to participate politely, but some harm had been finished. The dispute eventually, but not before making an impact. The recording of Kimmel's comeback episode began to ratings that millions of people watched how he would handle the situation. Rather, instead of expressing regret or turning back, he made given the circumstances, expressing gratitude to ABC for not dismissing him because he said what everyone was already considering. The viewers laughed, but there was still tension underneath the surface. The pause didn't merely push the limits of late comedy at night. It reopened the inquiry regarding who is in charge of the discussion in contemporary media. However, one thing was for sure. The late-night television industry would never again feel so untouchable. What are your thoughts? Did the comments have a deeper meaning? Only a joke? Put your responses in the below the comment section. If you had fun this video, please remember to click to the next video that appears on your screen. Similar to this, watch the video and follow our channel to additional updates.